Testing. Hi, my name is Jill Hicks. For this assignment, we were asked to choose two well-known leaders and compare them in terms of their leadership style, their methods for gaining power and influence, and their success and effectiveness as a leader. In this presentation, I analyzed the leadership and power dynamics through a comparison of two global leaders, Natya Nadella of Microsoft in the United States and Akio Toyoda of Toyota in Japan. Using theories we learned from our class on organizational behavior and power, I examine how culture shapes leadership style, influences tactics, motivation, and effectiveness. The goal is to show that power is not exercised universally, but rather constructed and legitimized differently depending on cultural and organizational context. Satya Nadella has served as CEO of Microsoft since 2014, leading a US-based multinational technology company operating in software, cloud computing, and artificial intelligence. Nadella's engineering background contributed to his expert power and credibility during a period of cultural and strategic transformation at Microsoft. As an executive level leader, he is widely recognized for shifting Microsoft away from internal competition towards collaboration, learning, and innovation, helping to restore both organizational performance and employee engagement. Akio Toyoda is the former CEO and current chairman of Toyota Motor Corporation, a global automotive manufacturer headquartered in Japan. In addition to his executive authority, Toyota's family lineage as the grandson of Toyota's founder provided him with significant legitimate and cultural power. His leadership emphasizes long-term stability, quality, and stewardship of Toyota's identity. Toyota operates within a highly structured organization where leadership legitimacy is closely tied to tradition, responsibility, and preservation of organizational values. Leadership behavior can be understood through cultural context. In the United States, leadership operates within a low power distance, individualistic culture that values direct communication, innovation, and employee voice. In contrast, Japanese leadership reflects high power distance, collectivism, consensus building decision making, and long term orientation. My research shows the effectiveness of leadership and power is embedded in cultural context. These cultural differences strongly influence how leaders gain power, how subordinates provide input, and how influences flows within organizations. Nadella gained power primarily through transformation. His expert power came from his technical background, while referent power developed through empathy and humility. His legitimate power as CEO was reinforced by successfully reversing Microsoft's cultural and financial decline. In contrast, Toyota's power was rooted in a legitimate authority and family lineage, combined with cultural power as a symbol of Toyota's identity. His expert power in manufacturing and moral authority in protecting Toyota's reputation reinforced his leadership. Overall, Nadella earned power through change, while Toyota inherited and reinforced power through stewardship. At Microsoft, subordinates are encouraged to challenge ideas and participate in feedback loops that promote psychological safety. This allows employees to exert meaningful upward influence on leadership decisions. In contrast, Toyota employees influence leadership indirectly through structured systems such as a Kaizen. Rather than openly challenging authority, influence is exercised collectively and within formal processes. These differences reflect cultural expectations around power, distance, and voice. Microsoft's culture supports direct upward influence, while Toyota's culture channels influence through systems and group-based problem solving. Nadella relies heavily on symbolic and relational influence. He uses vision framing, such as the shift from a know-it-all to a learn-it-all mindset, along with cultural language and role modeling vulnerability to influence behavior. Toyota, by contrast, combines symbolic influence with structural control. He reinforces behavior through organizational identity, storytelling rooted in Toyota's history, and standardized systems like the Kaizen. These approaches reflect cultural alignment. Nadella influences through meaning and relationships, while Toyota influences through tradition and institutional systems. Not yet Satya Nadella primarily motivates employees through intrinsic factors, including purpose, growth mindset, autonomy, and opportunities for learning and innovation. This approach aligns with individualistic cultural values that emphasize personal development. Akio Toyota's motivational strategy relies more on extrinsic and normative factors, such as loyalty, job security, collective success, and pride in craftsmanship. These approaches reflect cultural differences. Nadella motivates through meaning and autonomy, while Toyota motivates through belonging, duty, and shared responsibility to the organization. Despite their effectiveness, both leaders exhibit potential self-destructive tendencies. Nadella's emphasis on empathy and consensus can lead to conflict avoidance and slower decision making in high risk or time sensitive situations. For example, in 2023, Microsoft moved aggressively into AI partnerships and products, but internal decision making and governance around AI risk, ethics, and organizational authority became fragmented. Nadella's highly collaborative, consensus-driven culture reduced conflict, but also slowed decisive intervention during moments of uncertainty. The business impact resulted in ambiguity in accountability, especially across open AI governance, product teams, and legal and ethics groups. This ultimately forced Microsoft to later clarify authority and tighten governance structures. Toyota's strong institutional loyalty has at times contributed to defensiveness and resistance to disruptive change, particularly regarding electric vehicle adoption. Under Toyota's leadership, Toyota publicly resisted a rapid shift to battery electric vehicles, instead emphasizing hybrids and hydrogen. Toyota repeatedly questioned the viability and sustainability of full EV adoption well into the early 2020s. This defensive posture towards external disruption and cultural preference for incremental improvements over radical change had a significant impact on the business that ultimately resulted in Toyota losing early EV leadership to the competition like Tesla, significant investor pressure, and a strategic reset resulting in Toyota stepping down as CEO in 2023. These tendencies illustrate how power can also constrain leaders, and without deliberate mitigation, strengths such as consensus building or stewardship can become liabilities that limit organizational agility and responsiveness. Nadella's leadership is best explained by transformational leadership theory, supported by participative leadership. He articulates a compelling vision, motivates through purpose, and encourages employee voice. Toyota's leadership aligns most closely with paternalistic leadership, supported by institutional leadership. He embodies a protector steward role and derives authority from care, responsibility, and tradition. This diagram illustrates that leaders draw from multiple styles depending on culture, power, and organizational context. Each leader's theory alignment reflects how influence is legitimized within their respective cultures. Nadella's leadership resulted in a successful cultural and financial turnaround at Microsoft, increased employee engagement, and renewed innovation. To further enhance effectiveness, he could establish clear decision authority in high risk, time sensitive situations while maintaining psychological safety. Toyota successfully preserved Toyota's global reputation, quality, and long term success. However, he could enhance effectiveness by creating formal mechanisms for dissent and external input without undermining cultural norms of respect and hierarchy. These improvements reflect culturally appropriate refinements, not wholesale change. In conclusion, this comparison demonstrates that power and leadership effectiveness are deeply shaped by culture. Nadella and Toyota achieve success through different paths to power, influence, and motivation. Nadella's approach emphasized transformation, participation, and relational influence, while Toyota's leadership reflects stewardship, structure, and institutional authority. Effective leaders adapt influence tactics to cultural norms rather than applying a universal style. Understanding cultural context is essential for exercising power responsibly and sustaining leadership effectiveness across global organizations. The final couple of slides are just the references, and I thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this presentation.